Alright, here's the deal. I got 7 movies, not a lot of sleep, and a deadline, so we're just gonna get into this one. And yeah, I did say 7. I'm not reviewing Spider-Verse because, in my opinion, it's pretty perfect, and there's nothing I really think I can say about it. Just a quick side note, I consider 5 to be a completely average score in my scale, so if I give something a 5, don't take it as a negative score, it's just that I like half of it as much as I dislike half of it. Or honestly, take whatever you want from this, I don't really care. Anyway, let's get going. Wow, this doesn't really hold up that well for,
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
A couple reasons. Tobey Maguire gets a lot of shit for this one, but none of the main cast is honestly doing that good a job, especially James Franco. James Franco. The only real standout to J.K. Simmons, because of course he is.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man.
Okay, alright, you're so rude about it. And Willem Dafoe, but even that performance kind of has an asterisk next to it because you can't see his face half the time. The Goblin suit is terrible. I'm sorry, but it really is. The mask is so bulky and completely restricts one of the most expressive actors out there. And while I'm on the topic of costumes, the Spider-Man suit itself looks kind of cheap and orange for some reason. Whenever they actually have a confrontation, it looks like Power Rangers, and not in a good way. No, I'm not going to elaborate on that whatsoever. The story is alright, but the passage of time is actually really unclear. I honestly have no idea what the time span of this film is. Sometimes it feels like it's taking place over a couple days, and then later you're like, wait, is this over like the course of a year? The final fight does have some pretty cheesy dialogue, but I like how by the end it gets really dirty and gritty. I think it's cool when the suit gets wrecked. I think it really shows how weak and vulnerable he is. 5 out of 10. Alright, one down, that wasn't that hard.
That's what she said.
God damn it, Ryder. Oh, fuck. This movie is so good. Is it perfect? No, but it's well-paced enough that nothing I dislike actually lingers on for that long. You can tell that this is the film every Spider-Man movie since is actually trying to beat, where they seemingly take their structure straight from Spider-Man 2. Even though the stakes are supposed to be really high, like the whole city could blow up, we only actually know that from a few lines of dialogue, and the real conflict of the story is small scale, but it's pretty personal, which might not be as flashy as others in this series, but honestly, at a certain point, all of that action becomes hyperbolic, and I prefer this kind of story. Alfred Molina is fantastic as Doc Ock, and overall, I'd say everyone in this film is doing a great job and is way more confident in their roles. Spider-Man is so popular because he's relatable, and the core themes of this film are universal. So, along with the story being so focused on the morality of the characters themselves, the audience engages with the narrative really well. The suit is mostly the same with some minor changes, and overall, I think it still looks great. Yeah, the climax is small scale, but it's way better than some random sky beam going aimlessly into the air. Like, seriously, who the f thinks that's interesting?
Well, I think it's cool because the lasers go pew.
Oh god, why are you like this? 9 out of 10. Spider-Man 3 is the definition of a mixed bag. For every aspect I enjoy, there's another that I despise just as much. Sandman is a great villain who isn't given nearly enough screen time, while Venom has way too much. We have the perfection that is Dancing Peter Parker, and then the Harry Osborn subplot that's rushed so quickly I completely lost interest. Oh yeah, and let me remind you, James Franco. I think there's some great action and set pieces, and there's some real passion behind this project, but it's loaded. There's so many villains and concurrent plot lines that no individual aspect is fully explored, and we're left wondering what the hell happened. It's almost like they tried to squeeze an entire trilogy into a single movie, which they did. That's exactly what they tried to do. Meaning all the elements that take place feel unearned and weirdly convenient. I do like it, I really do. It's still entertaining, and my favorite aspects of this trilogy are still present, but they're bogged down by some really dumb characterization and gluttony for adapting as many storylines at once as possible. Honestly, the most disappointing part for me is the black suit design. I get what they were going for, but they definitely could have gone further than dyeing it black and making certain parts more angular, especially compared to the source material. 6 out of 10. Alright, no more Toby. Let's get bringing the other ones. I like The Amazing Spider-Man to an extent where I was honestly surprised how much I enjoy this incarnation. At times, it takes itself too seriously, but I do enjoy the more grounded take, especially after what came before. I kinda wish they had just skipped the origin since they don't do anything new with it to justify how much time is wasted. However, the reason I say kinda is because of how much I like this version of Uncle Ben, even if his death does feel kinda forced, even by Spider-Man standards. It could just be me looking into things, but I feel like they hint that Aunt May secretly knows he's Spider-Man, and I like that extra layer on their relationship. Even if he's not my favorite, the Lizard is a good villain, and the supporting cast in general all does a great job. Andrew Garfield is easily my favorite Spider-Man, and that includes his Peter Parker. What the? He isn't as dorky as he should be, but I can look past that. He's especially great at landing the poses. It's insanely accurate. I might be the only person who loves this version of the suit, mostly because it's different. I like how parts of the suit make it clearly homemade, like the soles and lenses, and how it progressively gets more beaten up and dirty. My only real problem with it is for some reason it always looks wet. Am I the only one who notices that? I'll talk about it more with the sequel, but the way they make Spider-Man move in this series looks so good. There's a lot of weight in every swing, and the web shooters glowing red and having a puff of smoke is a really nice touch. 8 out of 10. 8. We're just over halfway. Oh god, I'm only halfway. It's not good. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Who the hell keeps letting you in? The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has all the same issues as Spider-Man 3. Too many villains, subplots, and an incoherent structure. There are only two things that actually work in this film. The first is that, visually speaking, this is easily the best looking of the bunch. The swinging has so much weight behind it, and each movement feels so quick and dangerous. The suit is easily the most comics accurate, and having it intentionally be slightly too big means the fabric can ripple and wave in the wind to further improve the motions. Electro's design is pretty bad, but all of the fights look great with how the electricity flows in the environment, and it makes a really nice contrast. There are no negatives to how these scenes look. They're bright, vibrant, and keep you engaged through the uninteresting plot. The second is the relationship between Peter and Gwen. It's well done, and her death actually feels impactful. The whole thing with the plane in the climax is pretty stupid. I mean, yeah, the villains cause it, and the tragedy would ultimately be their fault, but Peter isn't even aware of the problem, so he doesn't feel the stress, and neither do we. Green Goblin is fine, but rushed, and the same with Rhino. It has some redeeming qualities, but it feels like a complete waste of such a great team. 4 out of 10. Homecoming is the most unique film since the original, with a much more comedic tone, lower stakes, and a connection to the larger Marvel universe. Tom Holland is always good in the role, and Michael Keaton is amazing. He's a very well-written villain and fits the story perfectly. I'm not really a fan of the suit. The design is alright, but it never looks real and lacks any tactility. That's a big issue in this film. They tend to replace their real sets and costumes with pretty dodgy looking CGI at times, which broke my immersion pretty hard. Now, this is personal preference, but I preferred how in all the other films, when Peter's in the suit, there is a level of gravitas to it, of treating him larger than life, and I enjoyed that aspect. It makes Spider-Man's every appearance feel more impactful, so when he isn't, we can feel it.
That's not the line.
What do you mean?
You know what I'm talking about.
I'm not saying it. And that's just not present in Homecoming. The supporting cast is pretty good, and I like that Peter is given a friend to talk to, which makes him feel less isolated and gives him someone to talk with rather than just some random inner monologue or opening narration. In general, Homecoming's pretty damn good, but compared to the other films, I don't look back at this one as much. 7 out of 10. Oh, okay, come on. 1 to go, I got this. You got this, mate. This is a good middle ground, I feel. It still has the more comedic tone of Homecoming, but the stakes are higher, and everything in general feels a lot more impactful. For the most part, everything I enjoyed about the previous film is still here. Mysterio actually being a group of people is a really cool idea, and I like how they mirror a film crew. The entire cast is doing a great job, but my issue with the costume is still here, especially with the Iron Spider suit. I think it looks terrible, and it kind of negates the point. I feel like they've kind of forgotten part of Spider-Man's appeal. He has way too many resources at his disposal, like a private jet, which is completely stupid. I also don't like that even though Peter gets beaten up quite a lot, those injuries don't impact the plot at all. He gets hit by a train and then he basically sleeps it off. I'm not saying he should have broken his spine, but at least show that he isn't invincible. I would also prefer it if Spider-Man's villains were more focused on him rather than Tony Stark, because as it is, he's acted as more of an irritation to them that they have to deal with eventually. I like Far From Home, but I hope No Way Home at least fixes some of these issues, because I can't really look past them at this point. 7.5 out of 10. Alright, there you go. Every Spider-Man movie except Spider-Verse because it's perfect in some amount of time. Here's my tier list, so if you're into that sort of thing, you can take a screenshot. I don't really care. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you sometime. Whenever that is, I don't really know what I'm doing with this channel. Maybe I'll delete it. Bye.